There are two ways that you can approach any creative project. One way is from fear, from your ego, from a place of lack, from a mindset that is telling you that you need to prove your worth. And the other way is from love, led by your soul, from a place of abundance and trusting the great mystery of life and following your sacred longing to create something beautiful. It's an approach to your creative project where you start with the intention of putting your soul in the driver's seat instead of your mind or your ego. And you do this by continuously realigning to your intention to lead from soul. Because if you don't, your ego will take over and make critical decisions along the way that will really affect where you end up. To hear your soul's wisdom, you approach your project from a different framework, from the soul-led project framework, as well as using different tools and practices at each stage designed to specifically allow your soul to emerge and for you to really hear its messages and guidance. Now, a soul-led project doesn't take longer than the normal approach because your actions end up being more potent and more aligned to your true nature and your authenticity. So it may even take you much less time to reach a destination or goal that feels really authentic to you. Now, a soul-led project takes a lot of courage, but so does a normal creative project. But in a soul-led project, you are using your courage to sit in the unknown and to trust beyond your knowing at times, instead of using it to push past fear or self-doubt. So really, you're just redirecting your courage to be used for a more fruitful challenge. And actually, when you listen to your soul's messages and receive direction, there's little fear that you need to push past to take action, because the knowing feeling that you get from recognizing your truth propels you much further and faster than just pushing through your fears. And also, your soul will never let you down, and it's in the driving seat of your project now, so which is kind of cool because you have used your ego in a really productive way and kind of led your ego into a project where it's no longer in control and making the final decisions on anything. And this is amazing because it guarantees that your project and the experience of the process that you have is going to be deeply profound, and regardless of the result. But let me tell you, the result is going to blow your socks off, because your soul is going to call on you to align to your deepest truth. It's going to show you who you truly are. So let's look at the unique benefits of a soul-led project. Number one, engaging in a creative project is already a very magical process, but this one is going to feel even more meaningful to you. And a big part of that is because you will inevitably end up significantly redefining your sense of self to a much greater degree than in a normal project. And that equals greater liberation. So who wouldn't want that? You will also uncover shadows and do a lot of deep inner work along the way. And this means for your next creative project, you will be even more unstoppable and able to take your ideas to a whole nother level. You'll also expend a lot less energy because your path to your goal is more direct, and your final destination or offering or product, whatever it is that you are creating, will be 1,000,000 times more potent because it will be coming from an extremely authentic place and not your ego or fear or a sub-personality part of you. And that's when magic happens. Let me demonstrate this visually. So in a soul-led project, you start with the first phase, which I call the dreaming phase. And in that phase, you're going to do a number of practices that will mean that you're beginning in a really aligned place to your true nature and to your true ability. So you start off there, and the path of least resistance, a straight line to the end goal, the really authentic goal that you have, that you've ascertained in this dreaming phase, is really clear. And so you start off really aligned because you're really well prepared and you're in communication with your soul. But then sub-personality parts of you and fears and doubts might lead you a little bit off track, but that's okay, because at a certain point, when you start to feel stuck, you will know this is the time to realign, to listen to soul. And so you will make your way back, and you'll listen to the messages of soul using the tools and practices, and then you'll be able to realign and gain incredible clarity on your direction. And then that leads you to keep going in a really great direction. And inevitably, again, you will go off track because of fear and doubt and because we're human. But then there'll be another opportunity for you to listen to soul and be able to completely realign to your truth again. And then say it might happen one more time, but you'll end up in this incredible place as a different person and completely aligned with your true nature. Now, just doing it the normal way, in the normal creative project process. When you start off, you have somewhat of an idea as to what is aligned. So you make an educated guess based on your brainstorming and that kind of thing. And so you don't actually start off truly aligned if you're not listening to your soul and acting from that place. So as you can see, we're starting a little bit off course. And then you're going to wander off into the creative project landscape and try different things and go backwards and forwards, iterating and failing fast. And then we're coming over here because the other direction didn't work. And then we're going to try again. We'll try a few more attempts. Then we realize we get stuck in some really nasty self-doubt. Maybe we come all the way back here, and then we try again, and we push past all the fears and use all our courage to do that. And then sort of we're getting closer, and we end up somewhere that's not fully aligned because a lot of the decisions along the way have been made by our ego, our mind, and we end up here. And when we could have ended up here. And look, when you look at the two, which one would you rather do? Which one is going to take less time and less energy? And finally, in a soul-led project, feeling stuck or unsure of your next move, which does happen to all of us in creative projects and can be a really scary point in the project. In a soul-led project, it is a great thing. It becomes the threshold or the doorway that leads you through to greater clarity and new messages from your soul. And from a soul-led perspective or intention mindset, feeling stuck is not bad, or even having an existential crisis or meltdown, that's even better, because it's a signal that your soul wants to communicate, and it's signaling that you have gone off course and your ego has slipped back into a leadership position. And there is now an inner conflict going on between your soul and your ego, and that's why you feel stuck. And guess what? It is time to listen to your soul. Time to slow down, not speed up, not try to desperately fix things or work harder or anything like that. You can actually relax now because you know that and you've identified that where you're at in your journey and that your soul is here and ready to communicate. And so there's no more stressing in moments like that. No burnout or late nights or no overextending and trying to fix what in the past you might have seen as a huge problem or a roadblock to success or lack of momentum, or even a sign that you're close to quitting the project, because that's just not the case in a soul-led project. This point in a soul-led project, it's a beautiful opportunity to refine your direction further and align even more with your true nature. So let's look at why you don't want to do your next project without this framework. First of all, you're missing out on having the best advisor you could ever have, your soul. And second, you're also missing out on help from the more than human world, which your soul has direct access to. Think of all the intelligence in the natural world, the rivers, the mountains, the four directions, the trees, the boulders, the birds, the stars, everything in our solar system. All that information, all that wisdom and knowledge can be accessed through the messages of your soul. But unless you hand over control, surrender to your soul, you can't receive. If you're not doing it in the soul-led way, you're also going to expend a lot more energy, because you're going to have to keep trying things and iterating and trying again. And you might even spend a long time working towards something, moving in a direction that leads you to a place that actually doesn't feel very aligned, because you can easily end up leading from fear, leading from sub-personality parts, or say your inner critic or your lion tamer or your inner lion tamer. So if that sounds appealing to you, please hit the like button, subscribe to my channel, or even check out my website, florescentia.world, because I am going to be talking a lot more about soul-led creative projects and all the practices and frameworks that I have used that have completely transformed my creative process. My name is Alex. Thanks for being here. This is my new channel, Florescentia. Florescentia is a Latin word that means blooming or blossoming. And I think it's just the perfect name for my channel, because that is what I'm going to be talking about. Everything to do with the fluorescence of one's being as they engage in soul-led creative projects.